Well, like I mentioned, partnering with all people to live, work, and play to their full potential is our number one goal. So I will start here with our adaptive sports and rec programs. The image right here is from our water ski program, which is about to kick off here in a couple weeks for the summer. So our sports and rec team fundamentally believes that everyone should participate in adaptive sports and recreation if they want to. And our number one goal is to remove barriers, both real and perceived, to be able to provide those positive experiences to individuals. And I'll get into some more detail on how we do that. But just letting participants know that whether it's equipment or transportation or financial burdens, that any type of barriers that are out there, we want to be able to provide solutions and those opportunities to participate. And one of our greatest outcomes that come from our programs is that we see an increase in self-confidence, autonomy, and a sense of belonging from participants and the community that they build with the other participants in our programs. So what are adaptive sports? They can be both recreational and competitive. And I'll get into a little bit about all the programs we offer, which ones are competitive, which ones are recreational, which ones are a blend. But a lot of times you see the use of adaptive equipment or adaptations through those activities. So for example, it might be a sit ski or a sports chair. With a cycle, it might be some like wrist adaptations. There might be like some pedal adaptations, so different varieties of adaptive equipment that we use in our programs. With those competitive sports, you see modified rules, equipment, and/or playing surfaces. So for example, wheelchair softball is not played on a grass and dirt field. It's actually played on a smooth, flat surface that allows participants to wheel a lot more freely and agilely across the field. And so, for example, when we hosted the Wheelchair Softball World Series last year, we had them at the parking lots of Mall of America because that makes it a nice, smooth, flat surface for athletes to be able to play on. These competitive sports also use a classification system to level the playing field. So with certain sports, there is certain rules in place. For example, with wheelchair basketball, you do have to have a permanent lower limb disability to participate. You don't have to be an everyday wheelchair user. But depending on the level of severity in your lower limb disability, you are then given a number or a classification, and those go everywhere from 0.5 up to 4.5. And then when a team is on the court, the total players on the court, their classifications have to add up to a total number. So that is how they try to keep the playing field level across teams. For example, with wheelchair softball, that number is 13. So as you are subbing players in and out, or having to switch things around throughout a game, that's something that coaches have to keep in mind, is everyone's classification number, and with all the players on the field, what that total number adds up to. As I mentioned, with basketball, some sports have a minimal disability requirement. And then, as I mentioned before, biggest thing is that adaptive sports can serve as a continuation in the rehabilitation process. So getting into our programs, we offer 17 different programs throughout the year, both competitive and recreational. So for some of our competitive sports that we offer, we have a competitive swim team that's in season right now and is competing at some local meets. Same with our track and field team. We have a wheelchair basketball program that has been around for 40 plus years that has 6 different teams. Every every age from like elementary school all the way up to adults that are playing at both what we call like a D1 and a D2 level, so a higher and lower level. And these teams are competing nationally in multiple tournaments throughout the year. Our wheelchair lacrosse, wheelchair rugby, wheelchair softball also compete nationally. And then our power soccer team has started to grow in the last few years with the support of the Minnesota United Football Club here in town. And they compete in a few national tournaments as well and continuing to grow the sport of power soccer right now. And then on the flip side, we have a number of recreation activities. So when I say recreation activities, what that really means is that participants are able to take the activity at their own pace. With each of those recreation-based activities, participants are paired one-to-one with at least one volunteer, sometimes two, sometimes even three, depending on what the program is. And what that really allows is that autonomy and that flexibility to make decisions throughout the program, whether it's, you're feeling great on a certain night, the second night, maybe not so much. So you want to do things a little bit differently. If you want to go fast, you want to go slow, you want to do, like 17 different runs down the ski hill, and the next night it's really cold and you want to do 6. Just a lot of that adaptability with our programs. So our alpine ski and snowboard program, one of our biggest programs that we have, has a lot of those opportunities, participants paired with at least one, sometimes upwards of 3 volunteers. Same with bowling, cycling, golf, Nordic skiing, rock climbing, tennis, tri-scuba, water skiing, a lot of the support from our volunteers so that participants can achieve whatever goals they might have in a given program. Getting into our program structure, most of our programs run 6 to 8 weeks throughout the year. Some of our programs run twice throughout the year. So for example, rock climbing takes place both in the fall, like September through November, and then again takes place in the spring, in the months of April and May. We also offer a number of clinics and events, camps where people can come and participate in an activity for a single day or a couple hours versus that commitment for 6 to 8 weeks. So for golf, for example, we have a number of one-day clinics happening throughout the summer in addition to our weekly programming. So if people are interested in golfing, but they don't want to commit yet to that full season, they can come to one of our clinics and try it out. We also provide all of the equipment needed to participate. So regardless of what the sport is, we are going to be set up with equipment, any tools, any adaptations that a participant might need. And then for a number of our programs, there are waitlists or a lottery system that takes place for registration, just because we have such a high interest in some of those programs, our alpine skiing snowboarding program being one of them. But the great thing about that is that we do offer a number of those one-day clinics. So if you don't get in to a full 6 to 8 week program, odds are you have good chances of getting into one of those one-day clinics. So getting into some of our outcomes from 2025, we had over 550 unique athletes participating in our different activities. And with that, over 7,000 encounters with those athletes and community members. So we have a number of athletes that actually participate in multiple of our programs throughout the year. So those encounters are every single time that an athlete comes to programming. So if someone is in rock climbing and then they are in golf and then they do scuba and then they do wheelchair basketball, they can then have a crossover and kind of stay busy throughout the entire year if they want to. And as I mentioned before, our programs really are driven by our volunteers. We had over 800 volunteers serving over 17,893 hours last year. So across all of our programs, heavily driven by our volunteers, we spend a lot of time doing education and training for our volunteers so they are properly equipped to give the best experience possible to our participants, providing their education, their knowledge in a sport or activity, but then also being able to provide adaptations and help participants reach their goals. So who we serve, it really is a broad spectrum. In our programs, you can start participating as young as 5 years old in some of our programs, and you really can continue on all the way throughout adulthood until you maybe no longer want to participate. And who we serve, really, we serve a whole spectrum of participants, everything from physical impairments, cognitive impairments, visual impairments. So there really is a program out there for everyone. And that's what one of our biggest goals are, is just to encourage folks to try something, even if they maybe didn't think it was possible before, because we have a lot of opportunities in which people can participate. So getting into some of the details with our participation, our program fees are determined by the length, location, facility fees, equipment involved of a given program, and they can range anywhere from $10 to $450. That 450 range being those competitive teams I was talking about that are competing throughout the season and traveling nationally, and they have jerseys and team equipment, things like that. And then on the lower end being some of those like one-day clinics that are popping up. As I mentioned before, one of our goals is always to remove those barriers. So we offer a cost share scholarship application. If approved, that cost share scholarship application covers 90% of the program fee. So we, being the sports and rec department, would pay 90%, and then the participant would pay 10% of that fee. So if a program fee was $100, the program would pay 90 and the participant would pay $10 of that fee. We also offer a number of equipment loans, which I'll get into in a little bit here. And all of our programming is really run through external grants to be able to keep our program fees low, provide that training and education for our volunteers, be able to continue to upkeep our equipment and purchase more equipment. Our equipment loans. So adaptive sports equipment can get expensive quick. And one of the things that we have in our sports and rec department is one of the largest adaptive equipment fleets in the country. And so whether you are a competitive wheelchair basketball athlete or looking to try downhill skiing for the first time, as I mentioned, we have equipment for all of our programs, and we also loan out that equipment. So if you are competing in the basketball season, which usually runs like October through April, we will then loan that sports chair to our participants that they can have for the duration of the season. So then they're able to participate, they're able to practice on their own if they want to, can take that with them when they're traveling, things like that. And same thing goes for like our cycling program. We have a number of cycles for participants that can participate in our program, but then also if folks want to go out and ride on their own in the summer, they're able to loan a cycle from us for the summer. And that gives people the flexibility if either our locations of our programs are, far from home, or maybe the nights don't work out for their schedule, so that people can come and get a cycle and be able to go out on the trails in the summer. So a number of different sports equipment that we have available. Kind of first slide here are our hand cycles. There's two variations, more of that sit-up style and that recumbent style. That sit-up style provides a lot more stability. That recumbent style, you can see common in like various races, a lot faster, more agile. But with both variations, the feet are strapped in, and then you're using your hands to propel the bike forward. So sometimes they go in tandem with each other, sometimes they alternate right and left. Number of other cycles that we have in our fleet, we have recumbent trikes. Two variations here. One is has those two wheels up front, one in the back. The other has the two wheels in the back and the one up front. Same thing as before, kind of one provides a lot more stability with those two wheels up front. One is a little bit more agile and mobile with the two wheels in the back. The two wheels in the back variation also allows that front wheel to come off, and you can actually attach that cycle onto the backside of another one. So if you wanted to kind of like tandem two bikes together, front and back, you can do that with that variation. We also have a number of tandems in our fleet, both side by side and then also that front to back style. So a lot of different variations when it comes to our cycles. And part of our cycling program is participants coming in to our office, having a assessment with our program specialist, talking about what their needs are, maybe what their experience is, and then getting them fitted for what an appropriate cycle might be for them, whether that is the variations of trikes, the variations of hand cycles, if a tandem is more appropriate, lots of variations there. Some other equipment we see, first is a power soccer chair. So power soccer, as I mentioned, is really growing right now. And similar to a power chair, with that toggle on the left or right hand side, it has that cage on the front, which is how an athlete then will move the soccer ball. And with power soccer, they have to go through a little bit of a lengthy assessment initially, because that power soccer chair can be really intense. It can move very quickly. And so making sure that people are safe when they're using the chair. For example, a move that's common in power soccer is known as a spin kick, where they actually rotate the chair 360 degrees to hit the soccer ball. And when athletes do that, they really get a lot of momentum in that spin. These power soccer chairs are quite expensive. We are talking like 35,000 plus. And so we have 8 in our fleet for our power soccer team. And then a lot of times athletes that are participating in programs for years and years might be able to get a grant or some sort of scholarship to purchase their equipment on their own if they want to. But we always have enough for our team in case no one has the ability to do that or doesn't want to purchase their own. In the middle here, we have a rugby chair. It has a similar format to a sports wheelchair, in that the backrest on the seat is usually a little bit lower. The wheels are rotated in at an angle to provide some more agility when moving down the court. In this case, the wheels are covered because rugby is a lot of chair-on-chair contact in the sport. And then it also has that cage around the front to protect the frame. Wheelchair rugby, also known as quad rugby, was formerly known as murder ball. There's a movie called Murder Ball about the sport, so if you're ever interested, I encourage you to watch. But it's very intense and a lot of contact, so that's why you see that chair in that format, to protect the chair and then also protect the athlete from that contact. On the right-hand side here, we have a paragolfer. There's a few different variations nowadays of a paragolfer. but it is like a single golf cart in which you can move around. You can take it onto the green. And then when an athlete is ready to swing, they can actually stand fully upright. So they can go from a seated position with that support around the head, neck, chest, trunk area and go all the way to a standing position for whether it's a putt or a drive, any kind of swing athletes can do with that paragolfer. A lot of times you might see athletes actually adapt their swing into like a one-handed swing because they get a lot more mobility and range of motion when they're able to do that versus that two-hand swing. But we have a few para golfers in our fleet. And then for our golf program, we partner with a number of golf courses across the metro area. And a few of them are actually starting to purchase this equipment for their own course. So our partnership with the Minnesota Golf Association and starting to bring ideas in which we can provide adaptive programming to these courses across the state of Minnesota. Some other equipment we have here on the far left is a bi-ski, very common in our downhill ski program. Has the two skis on the bottom, the mono ski in the middle, a little bit different. The bi-ski has more stability with those two skis, very common for participants that are starting out in our programming. That bar across the top, volunteers can actually like tether with ropes to, and then they would ski behind and kind of help guide a participant down the hill with those turns. One thing that is really great about a bi-ski and a monoski is that you can actually initiate a turn with a rotation of your head. So instead of getting like a full body rotation or a lean, participants are actually able to use some of those like upper head and neck movements to help initiate that turn. But bi-skis are most common. Mono skis you see a lot more as like a progression for individuals if they want to get to a place of some more adaptability, agility, freedom down the hill. Mono ski is kind of the variation of sit ski you'll see most commonly in the Paralympics. And then with both the bi-skis and the mono skis, a lot of times participants will have what's known as outriggers, which is kind of like a small crutch at the elbow and has like a small shorter ski on the bottom, and that is another way that can kind of help with some of that stability and initiating some of those turns down the hill. On the far right, the stand-up frame variation known as a slider, similar to like a stand-up walker in which a participant can fully put their weight onto the frame. There are skis that run across the bottom, and then a participant also has their own skis on, kind of in that picture down below. And with the slider, volunteers can also tether to that as well and help with initiating those turns as participants are adjusting to that form going down the hill. But that's a common one we see for a lot of folks who, you know, can stand up but might need to have kind of more of that like full support, and definitely a lot of stability coming from that full frame. Some other equipment in our programs on the far left are two variations of Nordic sit skis, one with kind of that fuller backrest, one with just that seat. The skis attached to the bottom of both of these variations, and then participants have a shortened pole to help initiate when hitting the ski trails. Again, the difference of those two is a lot more like mobility versus stability. The water ski, sit ski in the middle here. Couple variations that you can see, kind of skis running through the middle, and then those forms with one out the sides. Again, mobility versus stability. You can go like full sit ski with the backrest. You can get a little bit more upright. Participants in our water ski program can hold on to the tow rope if they want to, but we also have that variation in that lower image that you can see on the front, in which we can actually attach the handle of that tow to the ski itself. So participants can just sit in the sit ski when going for a ride. For our bowling program, we have ramps. We also have like variations of wrist assists. And so kind of different ways in which we can make that that bowling program adaptable for participants' needs. And then a few more variations here for our cycling program, like I talked about before. We have a number of variations to adapt the pedals, whether it's, kind of like that heel lock with the Velcro, that grip support or that wrist lock I was mentioning. So like the variation on the left, you can see with like a hand cycle. So if a participant maybe doesn't have, full grip on either side or doesn't want to, fully grip onto that hand cycle, we can do a form of like wrist support. And so that way you're rotating the hand cycle kind of from that full arm movement versus like utilizing your hands. High back adjustable seats, grip extenders, the quad grips, kind of different variations that I talked about. And with our sit skis and our wheelchairs, our sports chairs, rugby chairs, power tucker chairs, kind of all of our chair variations that we have. Another common adaptation is putting in foam support or taking out foam support, depending on if a participant has like an affected side, and so providing maybe more support there, just ways in which keeping participants comfortable in their equipment. And so then a few other things that our sports and rec team provides. One is this was an event that we hosted a few weeks ago now, but the Discoverability Zone was a interactive space designed to showcase various options for adaptive sports, recreation, leisure, community resources to the community. It was at the Handy Ability Showcase at the River Center. And this is something that we usually offer or put on this event every few years, bringing together a lot of resources outside of what it is that just we offer. And in addition to that, we have the Discoverabilities Resource Guide, which then lives on this website, alinahealth.org/discoverabilities resource guide, that really lists all of these community partner organizations that we've met over the years that offer forms of adaptive sports and recreation throughout the state of Minnesota and the upper Midwest. So one thing that I really like about this resource guide is if we have a participant or someone interested who's getting into adaptive sports and rec, and they say, I want to do kayaking. We don't offer a kayaking program, but we have a number of friends that we know that offer adaptive kayaking, adaptive sailing. There are programs that run like adaptive fishing ventures, hunting ventures, kind of a lot of variations. So resource guide is a great place to go if you're interested in a program that maybe isn't included in the number of programs that we offer. And in addition to that, if there is a program that you're interested in that's not on that list, we always encourage people to reach out to us and, tell us what they're interested in, because if it's not on that list, the odds are that maybe we know someone who knows someone, or we'll figure it out and we'll try to find a way to learn about programs that exist, because chances are that they do. There are a lot of great adaptive sports and recreation opportunities out there in the state of Minnesota and beyond. So that's kind of it for sports and rec. This is the best way to get in touch with us and learn more information about our programs. So our website, alinahealth.org/adaptive sports. You can see what we're up to on our Instagram and Facebook pages, and then calling our front desk of our department here or emailing us at ckrisportsrecreation@alina.com. So next up is aquatics and fitness, which is another department that offers programming here at Courage Kenny. And it is located at two of our locations. One is in Golden Valley and the other one is in Stillwater. Similar to sports and rec, the goal is to be an ally in each individual's wellness journey by fostering a supportive, inclusive environment and helping all people live, work, and play to their full potential. So we offer a number of inclusive programs for people of all abilities seeking safe ways to improve health and well-being. I'll get into all of those offerings in a little bit, but we have group community-based programming, we have one-to-one programming, we have adaptive programs and ways in which all of our programming can be adaptive and accessible for participants. So our aquatics programming takes place at those two locations I mentioned. We have warm water therapy pools there that are 92 degrees, really nice, like bath water. So as soon as you step into those pools, participants a lot of times feel a little bit of relief from, pain, muscle stiffness, tight joints. And so a lot of our programs are focused on, those things, mobility, balance, but also endurance, strength, overall well-being. We also have accessible fitness centers and some adaptive fitness classes that we offer focused on strength, endurance, balance, mobility, flexibility. Again, whatever those needs are, we kind of have programs for all of the above. So our starting first with those group classes I was talking about, in the pool we have a number of group classes, everything from some of that more like high intensity endurance, water aerobics, whole body. Deep water training takes place in the deep water of our pool, that 10 feet section. So a lot of endurance, cardiovascular endurance focused there as you're treading water throughout the duration of the class. We also have some classes focused on like that relaxation, gentle movement, a lot of like mobility and flexibility in the water with I Chi, water yoga, aqua bar, aqua core. And then we also have some specialty focused offerings. One of them here being our neuro splash class. So that class is designed for traumatic and acquired brain injury recovery, so like stroke recovery, where participants have that one-to-one support system in the pool. So whether that be like a friend, family member, caregiver, if a participant doesn't have an individual that can join them in the pool, we can help pair them with a volunteer. With that, we have that support in place since that class has a lot of focuses throughout the duration of class, and we have individuals with a lot of different needs. So making sure that they have that one-to-one care and attention as we're in the pool. We also have arthritis exercise, fibrosize for our fibromyalgia population. Aquatic mindful movement is a class that we started at the beginning of the year that's focused a lot on rebuilding those like neural pathways from your brain out to your muscles, focusing on very mindful movements. So like as you're doing an exercise, which muscles are we supposed to be engaging, and really just focused on that mind-body connection. And then our group classes that we offer on land in both our adaptive fitness centers, and then we also have a fitness studio at our Golden Valley campus. We have cardio drumming, which is a super fun, high energy class focused on getting some of that endurance back up again. You are actually using one of those exercise balls in that picture there, kind of seated on a bucket, and you have either like drumsticks or pool noodles, kind of different variations depending on grip support you might need. But you are actually like drumming on the ball and doing certain movements to music, and it's all instructor guided. So you might be doing like some stick claps in the air. You might be doing some like patterns on the ball. You might be hitting the bucket. But that class is a lot of fun, and the instructors have a lot of great music that they play throughout that duration of class. We have functional strength and balance, our adaptive spin class, and then some of our specialty focus classes in our fitness center, Rise for Parkinson's, and then we have two post-stroke general health and wellness classes. That first one being post-stroke general health and wellness is available for everybody. That second one, post-implant, post-therapy vagal nerve stimulator class, is for folks that have gone and gotten the vagal nerve stimulator implant, also known as Vivistim. Those classes are the same format. One is just geared for people that have had that Vivistim implant, but those classes follow kind of a similar format from week to week where the focus might be different, but it really starts with, like gross motor function exercise, fine motor function exercise, cognitive function exercises, and kind of breaks down that way. So for example, a theme for 1 week might be momentum and using momentum and movement towards an affected side. All of our classes are on a 10-week cycle. So you would participate over the course of 10 weeks and then start again the next 10 weeks. We also do one-to-one programming. So if you come across our offerings and see the word Stay Fit, that is what our one-to-one programs are. That takes place both in the pool and on land, where participants are paired with a aquatics and fitness staff member one-to-one to focus on what their goals are. So again, that could be flexibility, mobility, balance, endurance, strength, all of the above. And your care team member works with you on helping you reach those goals and work towards those goals. We have different variations of Stay Fit with some exciting adaptations we have, such as like our local mat equipment, exoskeleton, FES, and then we also do one-to-one adaptive swim lessons in the pool. And then finally in our program, so after our group classes and our one-to-one program, we have what's known as ITE, or individual therapeutic exercise, which is similar to like a pass to a gym. So you would come in and you can get, a number of kind of swipes to come in. Say it's, you could get 10, you could get it for a month, you could get it for 3 months. And you can come in and you can use the pool in our accessible fitness center at your own leisure. So we have a schedule with certain times every single day throughout the week, and we have folks that'll come in and use the pool. That could be for swimming laps, that could be for, maybe they started doing Stay Fit in the pool and, built up kind of a repertoire of knowledge from their staff member. And so now they have a number of exercises that they want to focus when they come in the pool, or they want to come in the pool to focus on stretching and flexibility. It really is an open space for people to use how they would like. So here's some images kind of encapsulating all those different Stay Fit or one-to-one options. So the Locomat on the far left there, that is a supportive robotic treadmill. And so you can see kind of those supports that are attached to the participants' legs. So they actually help guide like that forward and back movement. With the local mat, we see, people that maybe had a spinal cord injury, have some sort of, like muscle loss, nerve loss, and are trying to like rebuild some of those pathways back to their legs. Different variations again in the pool and the accessible fitness center, the exoskeleton there on the far right. As I mentioned, it runs on a 10-week session. We have 5 of those 10-week sessions throughout the year, with 1 week off around the holiday season and then 1 in March. And so you can do as many times as you want to. We have participants that have been coming and doing our group classes for 20 plus years. So there is no limit, and you can just sign up back to back to back. Our next session actually starts the first week of June for our aquatics and fitness programming. Participants must complete an assessment or an eval before either enrolling in that ITE, so being able to come and use our facilities individually, or doing any form of exercise or participation in the pool. And then classes are usually capped around 10 participants. I will say it depends on the class. So some of our pool classes definitely go more towards like 15 to even 18 participants. Highlighting some of our program outcomes from 2025. We had over 3,500 people participate in our classes. And we also offer learn to swim programs too in our pool. We had over 89,000 check-ins from participants. So these are people coming in either for a class, for a one-to-one, or to do individual therapeutic exercise. So really 89,000 different times throughout the year in 2025, people were coming in to utilize the fitness center, utilize the pool. And we had over 300 classes that were offered between our Golden Valley and Stillwater campuses last year. And these programs, similarly to Sports and Rec, really are open to anyone and everyone who wants to, participate. And a lot of these programs, similar to Sports and Rec, can also be adapted based on individual needs. And one thing that I think is really important to highlight with both of these programs is that they are community-based. So what that means is that participants can come and participate in a program without having any form of referral. They don't need to be in the Courage Kenny system already. They don't need to be in the Allina Health system already. Anyone can come and sign up and register for a program. As I mentioned, our locations, here's some images of them, both Golden Valley and Stillwater. Some logistics about our program fees. We also offer that cost share scholarship opportunity in aquatics and fitness, just like Sports and Rec, is eligible for both one-to-one and group fitness classes, and with a 70% of service covered. So again, taking that $100 example, aquatics and fitness covers $70. The participant then pays $30 for that fee. These programs also accept various fitness perks and benefits through insurance. So if you have silver sneakers, one pass, silver fit, examples like that, they do also accept fitness perks through insurance. And then lastly, our contact information. Same thing as Sports and Rec. You can find information about all of our programs at our website, allinahealth.org/fitness wellness pool services. And then if you have any questions about our programs, looking to register, looking to learn more about the cost scholarship opportunity, our email and our phone number are the best way to get in touch with us.